Ben, how are you? Good evening. I'm calling this meeting to order. The time is 5:34 p.m. in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code, Chapter 551. This meeting is officially open with a quorum present. Also want to acknowledge that Trustee Dr. Michael Ryan is joining us virtually through Zoom. Can you hear us, Dr. Ryan? Great.
Yes, ma'am, I can.
Great, thank you. At this time, we would hear public comment addressing items on the agenda. We have no speakers this evening, so we will move right along. Next, we will move to item 3, Lone Star Governance Priority Setting. So I will turn it over to Dr. Molnar.
Thank you, President Martinez. So I'd like to welcome back our Lone Star Governance Coach, Mr. Ben Mackey, who will be leading our workshop this evening. You will see in front of you that you have printed out our district strategic plan that we adopted in January. And then we also have our current data scores that are going to be shared with you as well, just for references.
All right. Good evening, everyone. You can't see me smiling wide behind here, but I'm getting over a sickness from last week. Didn't want to take any chances with y'all, so I wore the mask. But excited to be here with y'all tonight. It's going to be a super exciting time. Some of the most important stuff, as this board well knows, is setting the priorities for the system. The two documents that Superintendent Molinar just mentioned, I know this board has spent a lot of time getting the strategic plan to a point where you are happy with it and adopted it and looking forward to the work. And there's a lot of good stuff in that plan that the system needs to focus on. And there's a lot of stuff. And so what this board can do better than anything is prioritize what are the most important elements of that plan for Dr. Molinar and her team to focus deeply on. It doesn't mean they will ignore everything else. It just means what are the highest leverage things that this board wants to shine a light on day in and day out to really track the progress. That if we achieve those things, that's what winning the game looks like. And Dr. Molinar and her team will continue to take care of all the other stuff in that strategic plan. So that's our job tonight, is essentially take that strategic plan and start to look at it in conjunction with the data that you have. So you have some of the most updated data. We're going to go through a couple activities. One's to set goals and big picture on what are those academic things that we are going to prioritize. And the second, once we finish that aspect, is to set the constraints, as they were formerly called, guardrails. What are those values that we're trying to protect and make sure hold true even as we pursue our goals? So that's kind of what we're going to do tonight. We've got a lot of, this is a workshop. It's called Workshop for a reason. We're going to put you in groups and have you work and kind of share out and kind of go through this process. But before we get started, I want to kind of level set about what goals are and what guardrails are. We talked about it last time. I think everybody in this room has been through Lone Star governance training at some form in the past. But would love to just level set talking about goals first. What does anyone on this board remember about what goals are? Who will be the first? Do I get to call on someone?
Trustee Darr.
I can speak up first. I mean, goals are kind of, what you're trying to achieve. And more specifically, when you're putting those together, I know we might not do all of it tonight, but kind of SMART goals.
Yeah. Goals are what we're trying to achieve. That's what winning the game looks like. And we talk about SMART goals. They need to be specific, measurable, attainable, and all those good things. What else? What else do we know about goals or remember about goals?
Trustee Darr.
They are targets, so it gives us something to aim toward and to work toward, as opposed to shooting those arrows and missing every time because we don't know what the target is.
Yeah, they are our targets. They are what we are shooting for. They give us something to grow towards, certainly. Without those targets, without the specificity, it's really hard to know where we're going or what's the most important, and it would change all the time as we try to chase whatever's the topic du jour. These keep us focused on what those targets are. Thank you, Trustee Darr. What else? What else do we remember about goals? Trustee Jackson.
When we talk about goals and vision, then we're looking at the community's aspirations aligned with ours for the students.
Yes.
To hopefully improve student outcomes.
Yes, absolutely. So it starts with the vision and the community's vision around what do we want for Fort Worth ISD? What do we want specifically for our kids in Fort Worth ISD? And then we put that vision into practice, and then we start to think about how do we make this specific, and goals start to make that vision specific. What's the first step on this journey towards our vision that we need to take today? Thank you for that. Anything else?
We need to know where we are. Yeah. So we have a starting point.
Yeah. We need to know where we are so we have a starting point. We can't just shoot aspirationally. We need to make sure that we are actually understanding where we're at today and what's feasible for us to grow to that challenges us, but is also feasible to achieve. Yep, absolutely. Thank you. Anything else about goals? There's one more thing that I would love to touch on here, which is as far as Lone Star governance goes, but also generally, I think it's just the thing about, go ahead, Dr. Rodriguez, do you have something else to add?
That they can change?
Yeah.
Living document?
Yeah. They can change. This board will set a process in which to revisit these, certainly. Would it be, what's the value of having goals that remain constant for a longer period of time? What is the value to having goals that might last 3 or 4 or 5 years versus 1 year? And not to say one's right or wrong, I'm just talking about what's the value of that.
Gives you a chance to really invest in them.
Yeah, it gives a chance to invest in them. And it's just always a trade-off. The shorter the goal, the less focus is going to be on it. It's going to change. And we know school systems take a lot of effort and energy, especially large systems like a Fort Worth ISD, to really get everybody rowing in the same direction. And so as far as like the Lone Star governance framework and all that, and again, ultimately this board will choose what it wants to do. The recommendation is for those 5-year goals. So Dr. Molinar and the team have something and can focus on them for 5 years over time. So, but that'll be a choice that the board gets to make, and they certainly can change, especially if you meet a goal, which would be a great thing, but it's time to change that goal. Thank you, Dr. Rodriguez. One major element about goals that we didn't yet surface is around what do goals measure? Do they measure anything about a school system? I see some head shakes no. Trustee Dar, why are you vigorously shaking your head?
I am vigorously, it's good adjective or adverb there, shaking my head because it's not about all the things, it's about what students can specifically do, and the goals must be student-centered.
Yes. Goals must be focused on what students know or are able to do, because the reason that schools exist is to educate students. How we measure that, what we care about, there is some state law about what we must do, but also the community gets to decide what we want for our students, but it is about what students know or can be able to do. What are those things they can take from us when they graduate and leave? And that's why we will focus in solely on goals being what students know or can do. Not what they feel, not what everything else is happening, because those are things we as adults get to control, and those are very important. We will talk about those when we get to guardrails here shortly. They are super important as well. It's not to make a value statement, it's to say that you've got to keep your eye on both of these things, what students know or can be able to do, as well as those other elements. So thank you for bringing that up. Any other thoughts, reflections, or questions about goals? All right, so goals focus on what students know or can be able to do, those student outcomes. They are ideally smart, they're measurable, we know where the baseline is, we know what the target's going to be, and they're going to drive how we operate over the coming years. The timeline might change and we might adjust these, but we've got to get some starting point there. The purpose of tonight, and if you look at your strategic plan, I think on your academic pillar, you have what looks like 8 goals written on different things. So that might be a great starting point. But I asked all of you in advance of tonight to reflect on high level, if you were going to prioritize particular goals for the system, knowing what you do about the strategic plan, what would those up to 5 goals be? Tonight, we are not going to write the baseline and from what to when and all that kind of stuff. We are just going to try to get clear on what is the goal about. Is it 3rd grade reading at meets? Or is it closing academic achievement gaps between these student groups? Or is it focused on school accountability? Or is it SAT readiness? Or whatever you all want to do. But tonight we're going to focus on getting those big buckets correct, because this is the beginning of a process. And once we have those big buckets, what's going to happen is Dr. Molinar and the team are going to take that, do some baseline research, actually plug in the numbers based on the work happening and what we need to see for our schools and what challenges the organization. and also start to put progress measures to them, like what's going to tell us in the middle of the year if we're on track to achieving that, what's the board going to be able to expect to see from us in September, October, November, and so on. And that will eventually come back to the board, ideally within the next month, for the board to have a conversation about. And so it's a living document until it gets voted on, potentially in October, maybe in November, depending on where that conversation is. So this is only the beginning of that. Any questions about this timeline and what will come next? All right. Hopefully, and thank you to everyone who reached out about the homework that I had sent about this and your work on it. Overall, we asked you to think about up to 5 goals. And there are 3 things I asked you to think about in advance. So hopefully you had a chance to reflect on. Number 1, what's the goal area? Is it 3rd grade reading? Is it 8th grade math? Is it biology? Whatever. What's the population that I'm most focused on here? Is it 3rd graders, or is it kindergarten through 3rd graders, or is it our emergent bilingual students or special education students, et cetera? What's that population? And then what's the measure? What does success look like on that measure? If we said reading and we said 3rd grade reading, then what's the measure that I'm going to use to look at it, recognizing that no measure is perfect, but we've got to have some measure. Is it STAR, or is it MAP, or is it something else? So hopefully you had a chance to do that. What we're going to begin with is I'm going to actually put you all into groups of 3 that we will work with over the time here. But before we do that, I'm going to give everyone just a few minutes to look at what you brought, or if you didn't bring what you wrote down, give you a few minutes to jot on your paper, about 4 or 5 minutes. What are those 3 to 5 priority goal areas that you would focus on individually? So go ahead, take about 5 minutes, either reflect on what you brought or start to jot down some ideas that will jump into the conversation. So the time is 5:45, so we will come back together at 5:50. Let me know if you have questions. Got about 1 minute and 30 seconds left. All right, as you finish up, we're going to move into our first collaboration exercise here. So hopefully by this point, you have 3 to 5 of those goal areas that you think are most important to be prioritized. We are only going to talk about the goals for now. We will come back and do this all again with the guardrails constraints in a little bit. I'm going to put you in groups of 3 up here, but before we move, I will assign you and kind of give you your direction. So when you're with your group, each of you are bringing in 3 to 5 of these different goals. My guess is that some of them are probably close to the same. Some might be very different. It is going to be your job as a group of 3 to take your set of up to 5 goals and come down to one set of 5 goals that you agree on totally as the 3 of you all would do. You don't have to have 5. You could have 3 or you could have 4. That's great. But no more than 5 goals. So you're going to take probably, my guess is it'll take about 10 to 15 minutes, depending on how close you all are to one another. But your goal is to come down to one set of up to 5 goals together. You don't have to tell me the numbers, but you got to be able to tell me it's 3rd grade reading using the STAR metric, or it is students that can demonstrate financial literacy on some measure to be designed. You've got to tell me kind of what that is as a collective group of 3. Once we finish that, we will all share out and go through the next part of the activity where we will start to then put those together, see what similarities are there, and start to narrow this down. Are there any questions before I break you up into your groups? Also, as part of this, while the board fully owns the goal-setting process, the board is the one that gets to vote, they get to decide the goals. You can't do it without hearing from your superintendent and the team. And so I'm going to invite during this process, when I move the trustees into the groups of 3, Dr. Molinar, if you want to have any of your team members come and join each of the groups just to offer their expert insight, what they're seeing, high level, answer questions, why something might be a good idea or a bad idea from their perspective. We would love that to be the case. So we'll have some administration, but ultimately it's the board that has to agree on these. And then for the groups, what we will do is I will kind of assign you, we will start with Dr. Ryan. I love that they put your face right above your chair, so that's perfect. You'll be over here. Then table 2 will do Q, and then Dr. Rodriguez on table 3. Trustee Jackson, Trustee Martinez, Trustee Dar, Trustee Lubanos, Trustee Bridges, and Trustee Lynch will be how we will set that out. Any questions? There is chart paper and markers if you prefer to work in that way, but otherwise, feel free to get with your groups and take your sets of goals and come up with one set of no more than 5 goals. And I will be around answering questions. You're over here.
Come on down, Dr. Billy.
You're here.
Lisa.
No, I can't. Yeah.
We're all playing in the sandbox. Right here.
Feel free to float or join any group you want.
They don't do any. They can wait back. I'll tap you in.
We're gonna take you higher. We're gonna lift you up. Oh, oh. We're gonna take you higher. Oh, oh. We're gonna lift you up. Oh, oh. We're gonna take you higher. Take you higher. We're gonna lift you up. We're gonna take you higher. Take you higher. We're gonna lift you up.
All right, go ahead and finish up. Take about 2 more minutes. I think you're good. All right, as you wrap up, designate a spokesperson for your group, and you can go back to the dais because the next thing we're going to be looking at something together. Yep. We thank the staff for participating and providing their valuable feedback, but now it is going to be back to the board to discuss which way we go. Dr. Molinar will be the spokesperson for the staff from this point on. All right, and then all right. Hopefully it sounded like those were good conversations. Got to enjoy some time with your colleagues. What we're going to do now is we're going to have the spokesperson for each group share out the 3, 4, or 5 goals that your group came together and decided on. I will be taking notes here. We're going to have each group, so hopefully you can see this. That's a little small. We'll try to blow it up, and I'll kind of share this. But it's also on the screen behind you if you want to turn around and look as well. We're going to get all of the 12 to 15 goals that are got discussed up here. And then we'll start having a conversation. Something tells me from hearing your conversations, some of them are going to be similar and some of them might be different. We're going to have a conversation about how we can combine each of these once we get them all up there. So with that, would any group spokesperson like to go first and read me their 5 goals while I take notes? Go ahead, Dr. Jackson.
Thank you. Third grade reading,
Okay.
fifth grade math.
Okay.
Under career college and military readiness, we selected TSI.
Okay.
Fourth is English 1,
Okay.
and fifth is IBC or industry-based certification.
Okay. All right. So I've got a few follow-up questions on some of these. The first one was third grade reading. So I put the goal areas about reading, specific population sounded like it was third grade that you're focused on there. Did you all talk about what measure would be most meaningful? Are you referring to STAR, MAP, something else? Did you have any conversation about that?
I believe we decided on STAR.
Okay.
However, that would be a discussion with staff
Okay.
to get their expertise.
Great. So we'll make a note there. If anyone has a dissenting opinion from that group, feel free to speak up. I heard fifth math mentioned. Did you have any discussion about which measure you would use? And if not, that's fine too. But okay. So maybe STAR. CCMR, TSI, population, which student? Were you looking at graduates, all high schoolers?
High schoolers of a specific age, because what gets measured gets done, and right now, TSI is not consistently being offered to all students, even those that could pass it. And so it
Okay.
puts them in a bad predicament when they go to a community college.
Gotcha. Okay, so some set of high schoolers.
Some set of high schoolers, but that was the objective.
Okay, English 1. Were you also referring to STAR or measure?
I presume STAR.
All right, and then IBC, would it, which students again would this be? All high schoolers, graduates?
I
Any
don't
idea?
know how they measure that, and we didn't discuss it, but I
All
would
good.
presume all industry-based certifications would be assessed.
All right. Thank you. Thank you for being on the hot seat and going first so I could ask you all those questions. And it's okay if you didn't discuss a measure you don't know, that's fine. We could just put it in there. I'm just trying to make sure we get all the information there. So the first group had 5 goals come up: third grade reading, maybe STAR; fifth grade math, maybe focus on STAR; CCMR, some amount of specific high school age students measured by TSI readiness; English 1, and then IBCs. So we will continue with the next group. If your group said the same thing, if you said third grade STAR reading, we don't need to write it again. But if there's a difference, if you're like, well, actually, we want to look at third grade STAR reading masters or something like that, then we would want to notate the differences. So just be specific on that. Who will be the next group?
The second group will go.
Great.
So we did say third grade reading, but our specific population was slightly different. We want the target to be our lower socioeconomic
All right.
students.
So third grade, but are socioeconomically disadvantaged
Disadvantaged
students.
students, yes.
All right.
We have middle school reading, 6 through 8, grade 6 through 8 meets on STAR.
Okay.
We have third grade math meets on STAR
Okay.
for all third grade.
Okay.
We had high school students increasing the passing rate for EOCs.
Okay.
And lastly, we had reducing D and F campuses
Okay.
using accountability ratings.
Okay, DNF campuses, accountability, campuses. All right. Thank you so much. Last group.
All right, we had third grade reading, STAR;
Okay.
third grade math, STAR;
Okay.
CCMR, and the state accountability,
Okay.
using the measure. And one thing that we wanted to highlight is not focusing on the military piece because, as we discussed, I think there's a lot that we can't control as far as whether kids sign up for the military or not.
Okay.
Obviously, very important, but as far as things that we can control, was a discussion we had. Algebra 1, star, 9th grade. And then the last thing that we talked about was 7th grade math, star. And then we also had a discussion around DNF campuses, but kind of came to the conclusion that we thought that could be more of a constraint than a goal.
All right.
And to add to that,
Please.
all of our populations, third grade reading, third grade math, seventh grade math, and Algebra 1 were specific to economically disadvantaged students.
Okay, good clarification. So in Algebra 1 and math, 7th grade math as well, right?
I'm sorry, can you say that again?
So 9th grade, 7th grade, and then the 2 3rd grade.
Yeah.
All right. All right. So pausing there, looks like we have a number of different goals, some of which are in the same vein, but are slightly different. So I'm going to try to reorder these so we can have a discussion about them. And I'm going to start with the ones that every group mentioned. So if it makes sense, as we think about these, every group mentioned 3rd grade reading star. So I'm going to put them at the top so everyone can see them. We had one group say 3rd grade reading star, everybody. One group say 3rd grade reading star, or 2 groups say 3rd grade reading star, specifically focused on economically disadvantaged students. So my question for this group as a collective would be, okay, if we're going to keep 3rd grade reading star in this for discussion, what might be the best way that we would want to focus on and measure it? Would we want to focus on economically disadvantaged students? Would we want it to be focused on everybody? And again, just because you set a goal around a particular group of students or all students doesn't mean Dr. Molinar is going to ignore other students. It's just about what's the highest leverage focus right now. But I will turn it over to the board if any trustees have any thoughts about, should these two be combined? And if so, how should we phrase them in a way that combines them? And if we can scroll up to the top so that trustees can see the top 2 rows. Great. So I'll open up to the board, or Dr. Molinar if you have thoughts as well. Maybe if a group wants to talk about why they chose all students versus socioeconomically disadvantaged students for 3rd grade reading.
We actually started with all students, and then after a conversation with Dr. Molinar, recognized that focusing more on our economically disadvantaged students would actually be better for Fort Worth ISD, considering the fact that 85% of our students are economically disadvantaged. And so you're not cutting out a very large number of the population that, generally speaking, is already successful on the STAR test.
All right, thank you for that, Trustee Dar. Trustee Bridges?
And that's a very general statement.
Yep.
Speaking in generalizations there.
Of course.
Well, that category has struggled for many, many years. And I think in focusing, just like with a laser beam on that, I think once you raise those up, I think you'll see other categories go as well. And as Trustee Dar said, that is the majority of our population, economically disadvantaged.
Thank you. Trustee Rodriguez? Oh, sorry. Trustee Martinez. I saw your light. I
sorry.
was looking at Trustee Rodriguez.
For me, I was wanting to set a goal or something that around the addressing the gap, and for me, this goal addressed both the reading, addressed the 3rd grade reading, but also closing the gap.
All right, so let's hear some reasoning for why we were looking at and why some of the groups landed with focused on the economically disadvantaged students. Anyone from the group that had all students? I'm curious, any thoughts on, with this in mind, is this something we would want to combine? Do we want to keep it separate for now? Or does this reasoning make sense and we would like to kind of amend what we were talking about?
Could you repeat that again? I couldn't.
Yes, would anyone from the group that stuck with third grade reading for all students, want to share their perspective, or say, yeah, we can combine these, and here is our recommendation for combining them. Trustee Lubanos?
I think we can combine them, knowing that 85% of the students are socioeconomically disadvantaged, so that would get majority of the students up to where they need to be.
Okay. So we have one person that's okay with combining these and focusing on the economically disadvantaged students. And it's okay if folks dissent. That's totally fine. This is just part of the process to kind of get this out here, but want to see if there's any other dissenting votes on that. Or are we okay with me deleting line 2 and just focusing on third grade reading, specifically looking at our economically disadvantaged students because that is our largest population group by far?
I would just like to make a comment. I know we're not setting numbers, but I don't know that we've actually ever looked at economically, I guess, advantaged students and what that rate in the district looks like. So I think just as we're looking at that, I think it'd be a helpful, data set that we don't necessarily look at.
And I believe we actually have this data in the printout here for third grade math and third grade English.
So we have them both combined, English and Spanish.
Oh,
So your
perfect.
third grade reading all is currently at 65%. If you look at economically disadvantaged, you're at 60%. So you do see a decrease of 5 percentage points.
But I guess my question is, I don't think I've ever seen economically advantaged, so pulling that population out completely by itself to compare one to the other, if that makes sense.
So we do show it when we're pulling out our subgroups. That's one of the ones that we are, that the state does look at when we're closing gaps. In addition to African American student, emergent bilingual is our economically disadvantaged as well.
And we could definitely get that information as we go forward. It seems like a good flag for that
Okay.
information to look at.
All right, thanks.
All right. Is there any dissenting around keeping it the population for all as opposed to economically disadvantaged? All right, then I am going to then delete that row. Sounds like we have some agreement on the direction we would want to go if we choose third grade reading. Let's do the next one. I saw a lot of comments around. Everyone talked about elementary school math. So I'm going to move these to the top. So we had 3 here at the top. And I'd love an open conversation here and see if this board wants to kind of move these down to 1, or if you want to keep them separate, that's fine. We're still going to go through a further process to work through these. Third grade math based on STAR. Third grade math, economically disadvantaged students based on STAR. And then fifth grade math based on STAR. So I'll open it up to the board. Is there anyone that wants to propose combining these, thinking about them, or keeping them separate until we can kind of get a little bit more clarity?
I'm of the opinion that keeping them separate for two reasons. That when it's out there and we see it as a goal, that we tend to focus more on it than the opposite.
Okay. So one pushing to keep them separate for now. Any other dissenting, different ideas?
I mean, my thoughts is if you're, talking over a year's time, I think finding one that we can agree upon, if you stack that year after year after year, you're going to continue to push that success into, cascading years after it. And so I think we need to come to some level of agreement on what that should be.
And we will. But I want to make sure if there's any that we can combine now before we start to get to that agreement, we will actually move through a process to narrow these down further. Okay. But I just want to see if there's any others that just the groups felt like were so similar that we would actually want to combine them like we just did on the reading one.
Yeah, so we have elementary math, we have that down. Why fifth grade as opposed to third grade for whoever's saying fifth grade?
I believe that in fifth grade, if they're ready, they should be ready for middle school. So you have third, fourth grades to be ready to be able to meet at fifth grade, and then you'll be able to be successful in middle school. That's why we chose fifth grade math.
Okay. Well, I guess, so with that, the accountability measure started at third grade level. And based upon that, we're gonna know whether or not someone's on the trajectory for fifth grade. So I guess my suggestion would be to start at third grade with that measurement. My suggestion also would be the socioeconomically disadvantaged, just like we just did with the reading. And I think that keeps us consistent with what we're measuring and helps us to be able to get those things monitored that we're focused in on. Kind of like Trustee Bridges said a moment ago about the laser focus, that we have to condense down like to what we're really going to see. Doesn't mean we're eliminating all other things, but we do have to have these hyper-focused aspects that we're beginning to look at, I believe.
All right. So I heard two different reasonings for this. If we can't all agree to combine them, then we'll leave them all for now and to move them through at another point in time.
May I make a comment?
Yes, of course.
I think it somewhat concurs with what Quentin just said, and that is if we're measuring our third grade and we're really focusing on third grade, then we know earlier we're always going to get the third grade scores back anyway. We're still measuring third grade math students, fourth grade math students, fifth grade math students. But if we've set a goal that just focuses on really intensifying the progress and the success of third grade math students, then we have a better idea in order to build on that in fourth grade and then again in fifth grade to better ensure middle school readiness, because I think that's a very valid concern, is making sure that kids are ready for middle school. Putting that huge focus in third grade increases the chances of that happening by the time they get to middle school.
Dr. Molinar?
So I want to just piggyback on that. That gives you on the other end of the bookend that when you're using third grade as your primary marker, you have a strong focus on your K through 2 foundational work to make sure they're prepared for that third grade. So that, because so far, right now, we don't have any K2 goals listed. So the third grade does give you a target to be able to work backwards to make sure that foundation is very strong. So right here, what they're showing is that how important that phonics to reading is, as well as the math in that K2 space to prepare them for third grade and then continue on. So just the other end of the bookend on that story for our third grade pillar.
Thank you for that additional context. So another reasoning for why we might consider third grade instead of fifth grade. Dr. Rodriguez?
No, I agree for all those stated earlier to have it third grade, and then I'd like it to be economically disadvantaged subset.
Okay. So we've heard a number of reasons why we might prefer for third grade. In order for me to delete fifth grade at this time, the group that put fifth grade up here has to agree that they would rather focus on third grade. Does that group agree, or does anyone still feel like we should leave fifth grade up there for now? And it's okay to say you want to leave fifth grade up there.
I'm fine with moving with the majority of the board.
Okay, there's one. Does anyone from that group dissent?
Second.
All right. Dr. Ryan, I don't know if you have, but if you're good with that, we can remove the fifth grade.
I'm fine with it, but it's, again, who are you eliminating in your focused work if you do that?
Yep. All right.
We're falling short if we do third grade math. Is that what I'm hearing him say, or did I misunderstand?
For Dr. Ryan?
Yes.
Go ahead, Dr. Ryan. I think there was a question about what you're referring to by that.
I'm just going, if we've got a group had a focus on X kids doing well, and that's where the focus of the district is. If we remove that, Are we no longer focused on those kids doing the best that they can? What do we put our eggs in different baskets, and so how do you make sure those kids are still doing well?
Yep, it's a valuable question. I will give one generalized thought for this to consider is no matter what this board chooses to set, there will be some areas, some tested subjects, some grade levels that aren't here. And that does not mean, at least to the best of my knowledge, Dr. Molinar, that we're not about to not focus on those students. It's just these are the ones that are the highest priority now, and we will still do all of the work here. It's just we're delegating that to the superintendent to get done, and the board is focusing its time on what it is deemed the highest priority, and so that's really the question. But your point is a good one, and it's always a real one when prioritization comes into play. But I'm okay with leaving this, Dr. Ryan, if you want to leave it up here for now. It is your choice, because you were in that group that put it here. If you feel it is substantially different and a priority, we can leave it for now. You're muted.
I'd like to leave it up for right now. It can come down later if we need to, but I still think it ought to stay up there for right now.
Great. We will leave it up there for now. Okay, looking at the rest of them, if you're going to scroll down a little bit more for me so that the team can see the rest of them, lines E through M. I've tried to group them roughly in chronological order. So we have a few CCMR goals. We got CCMR focus on TSI, CCMR focus on accountability system, and CCMR focus on IBCs. Then we have a few middle grades goals, reading for 6th through 8th grade, math for 7th grade, economically disadvantaged students. And then we have we have a campus goal around DNF campuses, and then a couple EOC goals. One's for all of the high school EOCs, one for 9th grader economically disadvantaged students with Algebra 1, and one for English 1. So an open question to this board is, does anyone want to propose combining any of these? That they're similar, we want to have that discussion now? Or do we want to leave them as separate and then see where the cards fall after we all get a chance to weigh in on these? So I'll open it up for proposals to combine. Trustee Phillips, followed by Trustee Dar.
Yeah, so for the high school ones, we got EOCs, Algebra 1, English 1. Could that be combined as just EOCs for high school? I mean, because English 1 and Algebra 1, they're going to be under there anyway if we're doing EOCs. So could that just be a high school goal surrounding EOC exams for K, L, and M?
So that's our current one that's in our strategic plan, is looking at EOCs in general. So we could combine them using this star, but then I would suggest we also look at, are we doing first-time testers? Because, they since it's a graduation requirement, they have multiple times to test it. So that could be something we would want to consider and look at the data to have that conversation as well. And just going back to looking at, and just our discussions and, of course, our literacy resolution, as well as looking at our scores. We know we have a middle school math problem, as well as a literacy problem. So do we want to focus on not all EOCs or just look at English 1 and Algebra 1, which puts us on track for our 9th graders, first-time tester 9th graders. So there's different ways we can really look at it and measure it. I know I'm not helping you really, but I'm just trying to open up the discussion because, if they're on track with our EOCs, then our graduation rates are impacted as well.
And
So what are you saying?
I'm trying not to give answers. I'm trying to.
Well, we need some answers. So what do you got?
and I would say, just to kind of frame it, is you're not giving you're giving your professional opinion. This board has hired you, this community has hired you to do this work, so please feel free to share your professional opinion. The one note that I will add before you could think carefully about what you want to say, but there is always a trade-off between going broad and going specific. And so the broader you are and the broader you choose to be, the less focus you can expect on this. So if we say all EOCs, don't expect a massive focus on English 1 or Algebra 1, because we've also got to pay attention to social studies and science. If you narrow it, you're right, you're kind of saying, well, some of these other things aren't our priority, and that's got to be okay. but now you can expect to see a bigger focus on some of the things that are higher leverage. So that's always a trade-off that this board is going to have to decide, is the more narrow you are, the more focus you will get, the more growth you will probably expect. The broader you are, you get to cover more things, but will you learn anything about anything as specific as you want to? And so that is a general question and trade-off for the board to consider. So with that, I'll pass it back to Dr. Molinar if you had a response to Trustee Phillips, and then we'll go to Trustee Dar and Trustee Rodriguez.
Well, Dr. Molinar, before you say, because I do want you to respond again. So trying to go on with what Ben just said and then kind of going through some of what you said. So is it correct that Algebra 1 and English 1 are both ninth grade level EOCs? Or
It's
is
an
that-
EOC requirement, but they can be, some of our eighth graders do take them in middle school as well. But it's a requirement for graduation.
Got you. Because I mean, I was going to suggest that maybe we say that we're focusing on ninth grade EOCs instead of just EOCs altogether, but would that language be too restrictive to those in eighth grade to take the Algebra 1 and?
Our Algebra 1 eighth graders are our highest scoring algebra. So those are our accelerated students, usually in our middle school, that are taking the eighth grade, taking algebra in eighth grade. So here's, I'm a big literacy person, you know that, huge literacy.
Indeed.
And I just feel like English 1 is something we have struggled in this district historically for years and, I mean, honestly, decades. And that is a preparation. I know algebra is definitely a gatekeeper for our students as well. I'm not saying it's not important, but English 1 just prepares our students for so many more opportunities to be successful in other aspects of their high school career and then later on going into college. And it also helps them just be prepared for their next steps, doing certifications, being able to become TSI ready. So I'm a firm believer when you have something less to the goal set, we monitor everything. But if we say that we are a district about literacy, it should not only be in elementary grade levels, but it should be a continuum of K through 12, in my opinion.
Agreed. But in addition, are we not doing better in that level of English than we are in that level of
Our
math?
scores dropped this year in English 1.
I mean, but which one are we doing better, English or math, on that level? And that,
English 1 or math, I have my EOCs here. Our Algebra 1, we do better with our students who are scoring in eighth grade in the Algebra 1 than we're doing. We have more students do our Algebra 1 in eighth grade than we do our English.
for eighth
Our
grade.
accelerated students, yes.
Then what about ninth grade?
And ninth grade, I don't have, do you have the EOC? I don't have it. I didn't gather those numbers on top of my head.
This one?
I didn't grab that packet, yeah.
For
So our math, Algebra 1, we did a 55, and then English 1, 49. So we had
So we're
less
better-
Algebra
we were-
1,
You said we were better at algebra.
better in algebra,
Okay, so to your point then, the focus should
55.
be upon
English
English
1.
1.
And then our
Got it.
English, because we dropped a point, our English 2, we did a 58, so we dropped 5 points for that. And remember, our students have to take English 1 and English 2 to graduate.
Okay. Okay, so yeah, so it sounds like English 1 EOC would be the better
right.
focal point.
We
if
have
we're
two,
going that
we
route.
have 2 EOCs for English.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
And we need to be literate in social studies and science, and to be able to
yes, we need to
also
be
do-
literate in life, I'm with you, yes. I got you, yeah, okay, cool.
all right, Trustee Dar.
I've actually vacillated on this, and I initially, when I was looking through this last night and thinking about where our focus should be, our focus should be is English 1 was the first one that came to mind. Then I went to Algebra 1 because there's a lot of studies to show that that is a huge contributor to post-academic success. And my goal as a trustee is not just to get kids to pass tests. It's to make sure that we're preparing students to be successful adults. And so I want to go with where we're going to have the highest leverage to ensure that students are academically and emotionally and all the things prepared to be successful adults post-high school. I appreciate Dr. Molinar's comments about we are a district that is focusing on literacy. We have made it a very loud and very intentional focus for our district, so it would make sense for English 1, which clearly needs our attention, to be our focus at the high school level as far as the EOCs are concerned. But I do like focusing on one area instead of too many.
All right.
That's kind of all.
Thank you. Dr. Rodriguez?
Yeah, I agree on the English because once you mastered English, then it helps with the algebra and the social studies and the science. So I think it'd be good to have English 1 there. And in our group, we discussed with Dr. Molinar about having it with the 4-year 9th grade cohort or something, so it's not retesters, it's just first-time testers in that cohort. I'd like to put that as the, what is it, the population.
Okay, so a 4-year cohort focus on English 1. President Martinez.
I agree. So I'll be the first from the K group to dissent.
You agree?
I agree with,
From the all EOCs.
yeah. So I agree with trustee Dr. Rodriguez and Dar that English 1.
All right. So we have one person from the one that had all high school EOCs. Is anyone from our group in disagreement with that, would like to keep all EOCs on here? Or are we okay with removing that one? I see head nods from
Yeah, I
everybody.
think we can remove it.
All right. Then what about the second conversation? I heard a lot of people talk about English 1. Do we want to also leave Algebra 1 on here for now, or do we also want to remove that one and focus on English 1?
Remove Algebra 1. I'm looking at everybody to see if somebody gonna say something.
I agree.
And if anybody dissents, we leave it on here for now. Does anybody dissent with removing it? Going once, going twice?
No dissent, you did it, man, Mackey, keep going.
All right.
Yeah.
All right, we're narrowing it down a little bit. Last question here, are there any other ones here that we want to dig into now as a group and either eliminate or combine? Go
Yeah,
ahead.
we have 3 different CCMRs.
Hold on one second. Let Trustee Lynch, and then we'll come back to
I
you.
apologize, go ahead.
Initially, I had DNF campuses on here, and through a discussion we had in our group, talked about that more not being kids and more maybe something that is a constraint. And so I think it's something we can certainly talk about later on, but I think it's something that we can look at as a constraint or a guardrail, potentially.
And I will, given that we haven't had a chance to all get together and do our 2-day workshop yet, which will be coming up, we'll have a state workshop in October on that. We haven't got to dig into this yet, but I will just say from a Lone Star governance perspective, accountability ratings are considered student outcomes because accountability ratings are from student test scores. So if it is something that is important, that is something that under Lone Star governance would definitely be a student outcome goal. Though I'm not saying that to prioritize it here.
Yeah.
I would just say that if it is a priority, it probably should be counted in the goals and not the guardrails.
Okay, fair enough.
Trustee Phillips and then Trustee Dar.
Thank you. Yeah, so I was talking about the CCMR, that we have 3 separate CCMR goals, and then maybe there's a way to be able to combine CCMR to make it 1 instead of the 3 that are there.
Thank you.
I have an idea.
All right, Trustee Dar and then Trustee Bridges.
To have an overall the goal is focused on CCMR and the percent of graduating seniors earning a CCMR indicator. And within that goal, for the goal progress measures, I've struggled with that all evening. The goal progress measures, there's one specific to TSI, and there's one specific to industry-based certifications.
All right. One note, again, we'll cover more of this when we get into it. at the state workshop, but one note on goal progress measures is the board owns the goals, full stop. Superintendent and staff provide insight. Based on whatever the board goals are then, the superintendent and their team are going to have to come up with the most correlative and predictive GPMs that they're going to monitor that tell this board in the middle of the year whether or not we're on track or not and what we're doing about it. So TSI might be a progress measure if it's truly predictive of if this board sets the accountability goal that they might choose to use and bring back. It also might not be. And so while we can't spend a lot of time like digging into that now, I would recommend thinking about not how do we fit all these into goal progress measure yet. They might end up in that way, but instead think about if we're going to think about combining these CCMR, what does winning look like for our students? What does CCMR winning look like? And let's get clear on that and then allow Superintendent Molinar to figure out what are those measures. And maybe it looks like one of these three things. Maybe it looks like some combination. I've seen boards do CCMR accountability, but specifically these particular accountability things that we think are most meaningful. So like there's opportunities in there, but that's what I would say to frame that conversation on that. Trustee Bridges.
Once again, the DNF campuses, why that's really important to me. As I said in our group, and I think I said it up on the diocese, for so long, that has been a struggle for many of our schools. And I've seen campuses that struggled, who were in that DNF campus and who have moved into a higher category. It's something about the psychic of what it does, not only to the school, but the whole entire community. And I'd be curious to know, because I was reading in Dallas, that they had a huge decrease in DNF campuses. Was that in their immediate goals, do you know?
No, DNF campuses is not a Dallas ISD goal.
Okay. But again, I think it's extremely important that that we keep that out there. And once again, what we see is what we
Absolutely.
what we try to work on improving.
Yep, what you monitor moves fastest. Thank you for that. Okay, I know we started with the conversation about if we're going to combine any of these. Doesn't sound like we've got any clear decision to combine any of these in particular. So unless there is someone that's got a clear idea of how to combine and eliminate one of these, we're going to move on to the next element here. Go ahead, Trustee Lynch.
I have one comment around CCMR that, as I look at these, the aspects that we can control are kind of listed up here. And so potentially having a goal around CCMR that doesn't include military readiness is a thought on how to combine these.
Okay, so what I hear you proposing is essentially saying the CCMR accountability one that looks at all the accountability metrics, removing the military readiness and focusing on the college and career metrics as an element of that is the proposal.
Correct.
Okay?
And with that, and kind of as we talked about in group, obviously military is very important, but from a measurable standpoint, it's hard to measure, whether kids sign up for the military or not. And so it's something hard to control within the district. And so that was some of the discussion we had.
And I believe it was your group that put the CCMR accountability up here. I might have just forgot to note that, so
Yep.
I've noted it now. All right. Oh, any other thoughts? Anything else to combine? Dr. Molinar?
I just want to apologize to Trustee Lynch. I was confused with what he was asking earlier. So when it comes to economically disadvantaged, he is correct. We have not pulled out our students who are not coded economically disadvantaged and done comparison reports. So that could be something we need to look at before we make that final decisions and provide that data.
Yeah. You're not making any final decisions tonight, so you're going to have plenty of back and forth to figure this out.
Just wanted to acknowledge that I misunderstood his comment there.
Thank you. Trustee Phillips with the last word. If you have some suggestion on what to combine or eliminate.
Well, no, it was actually around, because I heard it was said it was difficult to measure military readiness. Why is that difficult?
I guess my thought is that as we're looking through these things, obviously it's a lagging thing, but kids either sign up for the military or they don't. And I think it's very important that we expose them and obviously have a strong military and kids, life-changing things happen there. But as we're putting or asking Dr. Molnar and her team, I would argue that the other ones are ones that, kids pass during their high school career. There's certifications they can achieve during their high school career. So if we're moving towards a target, at the end of the day, military is still going to be a part of it. But if we're looking at a target to work towards and a goal, the argument would be around the other ones. And those were the ones listed as well in some capacity.
Wait, isn't that the same with the other two, though? I'm saying either a kid enrolls in college or they don't, or a kid leaves and go get a job or they don't.
Yeah.
Is that the same with military?
Yeah, I mean, I hear you, but I think some of these, and this is, my thought, someone has a certification or passed an AP exam as a freshman. As you're looking at, strategically, how do we go about and, set these kids to be successful? Military might happen well beyond the time frame of them being in school with us. And so it's just something that's a little bit harder to measure.
All right, it sounds like this is a good conversation. We'll get to continue this conversation momentarily. It sounds like there is not a suggestion to eliminate or remove one of these. So we are going to move forward. What you have right now, if we can zoom out just a little bit so everybody can see all of the 11 that we have here. I've kind of consolidated them down to one line. I'm going to read through them real quick. We'll wait until we can get the zoom. Are y'all able to zoom differently? Are you all? What's that? To do the zoom? The 148%. If you can change it to 125, they should be able to see it. And scroll up. Perfect, right there. All right. So here are the 11 that we have. Third grade reading, economically disadvantaged, using STAR. Third grade math, all students, looking at STAR. Third grade economically disadvantaged math, looking at STAR. Fifth grade math, looking at STAR. CCMR TSI specifically. CCMR focus on accountability, excluding the military readiness. CCMR focus on IBCs. 6th through 8th grade STAR reading. 7th grade economically disadvantaged math. DNF campuses are English 1. We combined and got rid of 4 of them, so we're in a better spot. You all should have Post-it notes nearby you. If you can grab one Post-it note each, I will give you directions for how we will start to really narrow these down. So make sure you have one Post-it note. Do not put your name on it. We do not need your name. And you are going to write on that Post-it note on the left-hand side the following numbers. 15 at the top. Underneath it, 12. Underneath that, 8, 5, and 3. 3. 15, 12, 8, 5, 3. All on the side there. Dr. Molnar, you do not need to do it. We're going to have the trustees. You are going to be our guide when people finish it out. What you're going to do is looking at these numbers. You don't need to write it all. You see the numbers A through K. Feel free to get up and look closer. Do what you need to do. Whichever one of those you feel is the most important for our system to focus on, you're going to write that letter next to 15. So for instance, if I believe that reading in 3rd grade is really the most important one here, I'm going to write A next to 15. If I believe English 1 is the most important, I'm going to write K next to 15. And you will do that from the most important one that you would prioritize to the least or the 5th important one that you would prioritize. So each of your numbers, 15, 12, 8, 5, and 3, will have a letter next to it corresponding with one of these. You do not have to use all 5. If you want to just stop after you do 15 and 12, you can stop at that point. That is up to you. Are there any questions on what you will do with that Post-it note? And Dr. Ryan, if you can see this, you may type it into the chat and I will come get it from the chat. And when you're done with that Post-it note, you're going to pass it to Dr. Molnar. if you cannot see. Dr. Ryan, are you able to see the letters?
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. Dr. Ryan, if you'll let me know when you put them in the chat. I can't see from where I am.
I put them in the chat, okay?
I don't see them in the chat.
It depends on who it went to. Went to another person, sir.
Oh.
Let me change it up. That show up?
Yeah, the numbers showed up, but I didn't know which of those letters correspond with those.
Okay. I don't have that clear a picture of what you've got on the screen to be able to see that.
So A is third grade reading star. B is third grade math. We'll try to type them into the chat for you. Yeah, if you can type it into them. And while we get you there, does everyone else have yours already done? All right, what we're going to do in just a moment, once we get Dr. Ryan's in here, I'm going to have you, Dr. Molinar, read me off the number and the letter of each one of those. So you'll start with the first one, and you'll say 15A, 12B, whatever they happen to be. And we will see where the trustees fall out in terms of which one of these are being prioritized.
I added them all up already.
Oh, wow. You've already.
Sorry.
All right. Well, we can just do it that way, too. You've already added
Except
them.
Dr. Ryan's, I just need his. I'm sorry, but I can go back and do it the other way. I know. I don't like downtime.
All right, we have yours that you sent, Dr. Ryan. All right, so Dr. Molinar added up the scores for us. If we are okay with trusting her arithmetic, we can just take the total scores, if that is all right. Go ahead and read me the total scores that you have.
A, 132,
Okay,
B, 12,
okay,
C, 99,
okay,
D, 8,
okay,
E, 5,
okay,
F, 8,
yep,
G, 3,
yep,
H, 21,
yep,
I, 21,
yep,
J, 19,
okay.
and K, 35.
All right. So now let me hide some of these. It seems like we very much have quite a preference amongst this board, it looks like. All right, so when we look at this, it seems like this board is very clear that the priority, especially for all of these goals, would be third grade reading, economically disadvantaged, focused on STAR, with 132 total points there. It also seems like third grade math for economically disadvantaged students is a runaway number 2. And then it kind of goes from there. So we have English 1, reading 6th through 8th grade, math 7th, and so on, all the way down to very few in CCMR. I would love to also, if we can, to get a sense of this, I am actually going to have you read what each person put down for those, Dr. Molinar, just so we can see how many trustees were noting on these elements, if you don't mind.
Sure, you want me to do one sticky at a time?
Yep,
15A,
yep,
12B,
yep,
8H, 5K,
hold on one second. Hold on. I had to get the letters back. Okay, sorry about that. 15A.
15A, 12B,
Yep,
8H, 5K, 3G,
okay,
15A,
yep,
12C, 8I, 5K, 3F,
okay,
15A,
yep,
12C,
yep,
8I, 5F, 3K,
okay,
15C, 12A, 8D,
okay,
15A,
yep,
12C, 8H, 5J, 3K,
okay,
15A,
yep,
12C,
yep,
15A, 12C, 8K, 5H, 3J,
sorry, 8K,
8K, 5H, 3J,
okay,
15A,
Yep.
12C,
yep,
8J, 5I, 3A.
say that one again.
15A, 12C,
Uh-huh,
8J, 5I, 3K.
5I, 3K, okay, perfect. The last one? Or is that all?
15A, 12C, 8K, 5E, 3J.
All right. So going back with that, now that we have those in, we can actually see how many trustees are speaking to each of those individual ones as well. Two of them looks like are pretty set in stone. The question, there's two other things at play here. Number one is you are by law required to set 3 goals, a third grade or an early reading, an early math, which you have in these two. You are by law required through House Bill 3 to set some CCMR goal. It seems that that was not at the highest priority here, which is okay, but we still are going to be required by law to set that. So we'll set that aside unless and come back to that in a second. But I'd love to talk about some of these other ones. So we're going to be required to have a CCMR goal. We'll talk a little bit more about how to think about this momentarily. But you've got to have those 3, and there was such a spread. Third grade reading, third grade math, and this required CCMR goal that we'll have. The question now is, does the board want to add a 4th goal to that? Looks like based on these numbers here that is pretty clearly English 1. But the board must remember that if we add a goal, we naturally take focus from the first 3 goals. That's not saying it's a good or bad thing. It's just the reality. More goals mean less focus on any one goal. So I'm curious what the board would think if we've got those 3 goals, the third grade reading, third grade math as we have them set, the required CCMR one that we're going to have by law. Does this board feel strongly about adding that English 1 goal here? I'm curious people's thoughts. And let's see if we can get some direction from the board for Dr. Molinar and the team.
I do.
All right. Trustee Lynch?
Yeah, I'd just like to weigh in that obviously third grade, is a big predictor of success beyond that, but I think having a English 1 goal within high school allows us to kind of have a measure beyond that within the district as kind of an anchor. So that's what I would say, which certainly that is the goal, and it's the superintendent, but obviously there would have to be a focus on middle school as well to get to where we need to be for English 1.
Yep. All right. Concurrence? President Martinez?
Yeah, I agree. In my particular group, we talked about how there does need to be some emphasis on our middle school. We know that that's where we struggle. So for me, having that English 1 goal, again, like Mr. Trustee Lynch said, like it gives us that focus back on the middle schools. So I do think that would be, I agree that that's an important goal.
I hear 3 expressing importance there. Does anyone dissent? Does anyone feel like we do not need this English 1 goal? All right. Consider that one on board. So that's 4 goals. Reading, third grade, math, third grade, and some required CCMR goal, which we'll talk about here in a moment. We've made the decision, it sounds like this board has prioritized English 1 here as an EOC to focus on. We've got that direction. That's 4 goals. The board can choose to say, those are the 4 goals we want to focus on, and that's what success is going to look like for us. Third grade reading, third grade math, English 1, and CCMR. Or the board could choose to add a 5th, knowing that adding a 5th will take focus from these other 4. It gets a little muddier here because we had 3 that kind of scored roughly the same amount of points. We had reading focused on 6th through 8th grade STAR. We had math focused on 7th grade economically disadvantaged students and DNF campuses. So I will open it up to the board to decide, do we want to add a 5th goal, and which one should it be, and how should we go about doing that? Does anyone have any strong thoughts? Or we say the 4 is what we want to stick with and stay there. President Martinez.
I have a question for Dr. Molinar. Would focusing on A and C, or I guess I'm just going to assume, but I would like you to just tell us to what impact, focusing on A and C would directly impact J, reducing the DNF campuses?
Yes, of course, focusing, especially if you're looking at domain 1 with achievement. Am I allowed to add a wrench or
Sure.
no? Okay. So I'm looking at these and I'm thinking trajectory and things that can happen in middle school that can't happen in elementary, but then what can happen in middle school as well as in high school to monitor. So English 1, we know we can test in middle school as well, some of our students. But then also when we're looking at the math, what if to take care of how we have math in 7th grade, we add in back algebra, since we know we're trying to test more students in middle school in algebra. And it also carries on at EOC.
All right, so
So it could kill a couple birds with one. So if we're adding in another goal, in addition to CCMR, algebra could really be something we're monitoring to prepare our students in middle school, as well as our students for our EOCs.
So what I hear from Dr. Molinar is a proposal that maybe if we're going to look at, seems like the next two ones up here are middle school focused. And if, sounds like, if I'm hearing you correctly, the proposal would be potentially to focus on Algebra 1, given that that's could be a capstone for middle school instead of one of these other measures.
Well, and then we're also looking at how we're accelerating our students in our middle school area. So the preparation work starts in that elementary and then really focuses on prepping them to be able to take that Algebra 1.
Okay, so that is a suggestion for the board to consider. Trustee Dar?
I appreciate you sharing that, Dr. Molinar. I would like to see that fifth goal to be focused on math, as opposed to reading at the middle school level. And I do think, I hear what you're saying about the Algebra 1 and the fact that we do offer that at the middle school level, and we're preparing kids at the middle school for that. We have historically been very, as a district, been very eager and interested in accelerating students that are ready to do more. And I want to see Fort Worth ISD continue that and not inhibit a student's class placement in order to see better scores. And so I'm good with adding Algebra 1 back in there.
All right, thank you. Any other trustees have thoughts here? Trustee Phillips?
Thank you. Yeah, so we settled upon third grade reading, third grade math, CCMR that we're going to get to in a moment, and then English 1. So we have 4.
Correct.
We want to do more than 5, so we have one more slot.
If you choose to, or you could say we're going to keep the focus on those 4.
Yes. Okay. So yes, we're going to add another goal. I would love for that goal to be the focus on D and F campuses. The reason why I would like for that to be the goal is because what we're really talking about is what we're going to hear the most reporting about. What are we going to be monitoring? What are we going to be talking about the most? Because we're always going to be referring back to these 5 goals. Again, we're not neglecting everything else. Dr. Molinar is still going to tell us about, so many other things that are everything that's going on in the district. But when we're talking about our time and our focus and what we're really drilling in on and what we're talking about constantly, I would love to see that be the D and F campuses. Because then we're talking about what our plans of action are there, how are they working, what interventions are in place. Consistently talking about which campuses are on that list right now, what we're doing and how we're focusing, all those things. So if we're talking about these 5 priorities that we're going to be going in on all the time, always the focus areas, I would love to constantly be talking about these are D and F campuses. What are we doing about it? Where are we going? How are we looking? Are we on the right trajectory? So I would love to see that be the 5th goal.
All right, thank you for your thoughts. Seems like we have 2 different opinions on this, some Algebra 1, some DNF campuses. Any other thoughts from the board?
So if by next year we have no DNF campuses, can we remove that and then focus on something else?
Yeah, that's always the opportunity for a board. You want to set these to be a target over some number of years so there can be focus, but if a board ever achieves a goal, it is recommended at that time that the board decide if the goal needs to be changed, needs to be replaced, needs to be something else. But yes, that's always an option a board has.
I like to focus on the Algebra 1. And just like the answer to Trustee Martinez, when we focus on reading and math, and then English 1, and most of the schools with the DNF campuses are elementary schools. If we focus on that, I think we can eliminate our DNF campuses, my opinion.
Thank you.
Can we get some clarity around what the goal is for Algebra 1?
Dr. Molinar, do you want to share a little bit? Are you speaking specifically like how we'd measure it or?
Yes, or, is this middle school? Like, how many kids are taking it? Like, what's the?
Gotcha. Dr. Molinar, would you like to add your preliminary thoughts?
For Algebra 1, we've still used STAR, of course, as a measure, but I think this actually provides us the opportunity to focus on how we're accelerating our math for our middle schools, to look at how we're pulling more of our eighth graders into taking that algebra. So I wouldn't want to tie it to just a ninth grade. It would just be a total percentage increase score for algebra, because I want to make sure we're not always deficit mindset when we're choosing our goals and looking at, how do we increase or decreases, but then how are we accelerating? And I feel like the English one and the algebra provides us that opportunity for that acceleration for our middle school students. And we're already doing some of that with our middle school campuses this year. One of them is our F-rated middle school campus, where we are accelerating our sixth graders into a 6-7 math class, and doing that intentionally to provide them more opportunities.
Is that responsive to your question?
Yeah, so to be clear, it's really whenever the students taking the EOC around algebra, correct?
It's just, yes, it does not matter when they take the algebra. It could be in eighth grade or could be in ninth grade, but it would just be whatever the percentage is.
Okay, all right.
Yes, sir.
Fair enough, thanks.
All right, thank you for that clarity. Trustee Jackson?
Just a point of clarification. Could DNF campuses go into constraints?
I mean, ultimately, the board gets to make the decision, not Ben Mackey, so the board can choose what it wants to do. It's my, usually DNF campuses, because it's a measure of culmination of STAR exams and CCMR, which are student outcomes. It's a student outcome, so it would belong in the goals in that aspect.
Or
But-
the superintendent will not allow X number of campuses to be DNF? I mean, that's what we have done prior. I don't know if it
Yeah.
is effective or not, is, I guess, my question to you. Because constraints are inverse logic. They're hard for people to
Yeah,
understand.
they are, and we're going to try to do it a different way to get to that. What we're going to really try to focus on is it's one thing to say not allow DNF campuses. My coaching in general will be, that's very broad. I would say what is the action that you would not want Dr. Molinar to allow that would get there? It might be the superintendent will not allow us as a board to get reports without focusing on our highest need campuses. So now you're actually talking about something different with when we get these reports, we're actually seeing how our campuses operate as opposed to saying just generally no DNF campuses. But that'll be a conversation we can have shortly. That'll be the board's choice. So I hear a little bit more leaning towards Algebra 1, STAR, 8th or 9th grade. Some comments around DNF campuses. Any other thoughts? Trustee Bridges.
I'm going to go back to the DNF campus. This is something that concerns me. And once again, I would love to see it as a goal that we're all looking at and that we're all working towards it. And I think if we, and respectfully, Trustee, I just want to bring that, putting in the constraint, it's almost like putting it in the back door, in the back, and it's no disrespect anyway, that I want to see it where it's visible, and then all of us are looking toward that as a goal.
Okay. So my recommendation to make sure, because again, this is just the beginning, and then we'll see what the board thinks, is it seems like we have 4 goals that we are definitely going to focus on. 3rd grade reading, 3rd grade math, English 1, and CCMR as required by law. We might consider this 5th goal. It will either be Algebra 1 or DNF campuses. And so my recommendation is we kind of leave it there. If the board would allow Dr. Molinar and our team to come up with a goal about what each of those would look like, as well as what the progress measures might be for each, and bring those back to the board, and the board can look at them at that time with a little bit more clarity to say, okay, this is actually the direction we want to go. Now that I see the general scope for how they would focus if we select Algebra 1 versus how they would focus if we select DNF campuses, if that makes sense. Is anyone opposed to that idea? All right. Then with that, the last thing to get clear on CCMR, and there's two options the board has. It seems like a lot of the other focus was on some of these other very critical metrics. By law, we're required to have a CCMR goal and plan. So the board really has two options. We can spend some time tonight really fleshing out which of these metrics are most important, or knowing that we need a CCMR metric, we can defer that back to Dr. Molinar to make a recommendation to us when we actually see these again, based on what they believe is highest need, if the board is okay with that, but that's a board choice. Is anyone opposed to that?
No,
Dr. Ryan?
I'm not opposed to it. Let them bring in what they think they need to do.
All right. Sorry, say that last part again. Dr. Ryan, sorry, we didn't catch that last part.
Did not. What I said was let the administration bring in what they think is important to meet the CCMR goals, and we'll work from there.
All right. Thank you, sir. Trustee Dar and Trustee Lynch?
Dr. Molinar has repeatedly and consistently demonstrated that she has extremely high expectations for Fort Worth ISD students and staff. And so I like that idea. She's ultimately going to be the one that's held accountable for ensuring that these goals are implemented and that they are achieved. And so I trust her attention to high achievement because she has demonstrated that over and over again. So I'm good with that.
Thank you. Trustee Lynch?
Yeah, I'm in alignment with some recommendations, then we can have further discussion after that.
Yep. And ultimately, the board still owns this. So Dr. Molinar can put whatever she wants, but the board is going to eventually have to adopt these things. So the board will get the final say. With that, we are good on goals. And I will summarize this to everyone. We can put it publicly so it stays front and center. I believe we're still on to do guardrails, but I want to make sure the board is okay with that. Usually the second one goes quicker than the first because we get the hang of the process. So with that, unless there's any dissent from President Martinez, we'll continue going with the guardrails. So again, a quick reminder on guardrails, and these are definitely the trickiest ones. With these goals, these things like third grade reading, English 1, DNF campuses, et cetera, we're saying, Dr. Molinar, you and the team need to focus on these things. This is what needs to move first. But then there's these other things that we value that do that, but not at the expense of these things. These things are all throughout the rest of your strategic plan. I saw things like parent engagement, staff satisfaction, retention, discipline, all these other elements that are really meaningful that we want to make sure that we value and are front and center. That's what guardrails are going to be. And it gets very messy in all the work that I've done with boards when you start asking folks to write guardrails and the negative, all of that. We're going to distill that down to just what's the value we're trying to protect? Is it budget transparency? Is it closing achievement gaps? Is it parent engagement? What is that value? And if we can get clear on the value, then we can go backwards and get into how we actually write the guardrail about what does sacrificing that look like. So we're going to start with the values. And as part of this, we asked you all to look through the rest of the strategic plan, identify areas in that were really meaningful based on your own experiences and what you have seen that you would want to prioritize. And then actually try to distill out a guardrail from it. Not a guardrail, sorry, a value. Thing like parent engagement, discipline, closing the gaps, et cetera. Show of hands, if you would like a little bit of time to work by yourself and individually, just kind of flesh back out those values before we go back into groups. Did anyone like a little time to do that? No? Ready to go to groups? All right then. So we're going to do the exact same thing. I'm going to time y'all again. We're going to give a deadline here of 12 minutes. So by the time we break out, we'll be coming back together at 7:40, if I'm doing my math right, to do this. 7:50, yes, thank you. I am not doing my math right. And we're going to switch up the groups a little bit. So Dr. Ryan will stay over here where he is. We'll kind of start a little different. We'll go Dr. Rodriguez, if you and Trustee Dar come over here with Dr. Ryan. Then on the middle table, if we can go with Trustee Phillips, Trustee Lynch, and Trustee Lubanos on the middle table, and then the remainder on the far side. Your goal is with one another to come up with no more than 5 values that you all agree on fully and completely that you're trying to protect. And I will float around. we have the second half.
What I hear is, I feel like
comes up a lot too, is there's a couple ways to control it. At the end of the day, Dr. Molinari says
And in a balanced budget. I worry.
All right, finish up. You take 2 more minutes and meet me back at the podium when your group is done. All right. Don't speak too soon. All right. It looks like we have representatives from all the groups. Naturally, constraints and guardrails end up being a little bit more diverse in terms of the amount of different responses we get than goals. But I'm going to ask for each group, we'll start with whichever group wants to go first, to read off your 1 to 5 values that you settled on. And then we'll pause, see if anybody has questions or clarifications for what they mean by that, and then we'll move on to the next group. So would any group like to go first?
I'll go first.
All right, Trustee Dar.
The first one is decreasing DNF campuses.
Okay, decreasing D and F campuses. All right, next.
Increasing extracurricular participation.
So we're going to do extracurricular
And
participation.
as a caveat, not necessary to write it down, but we talked about the importance of that being a focus from K through 12, not just in middle school athletics, when fine arts athletics and things like that start, but that it's a K through 12 focus.
So I'll make it more specific to K through 12 extracurricular participation.
Thank you. Number 3 is ensuring our most effective teachers are serving on our highest needs campuses.
Okay,
Number 4 is creating a balanced budget.
balanced budget. All right.
And number 5 is ensuring K through 2 school readiness.
I'm going to call that early.
Early learning, readiness, early
Learning
Child.
readiness, K2. Does that properly?
yeah.
All right. Thank you. We have decreasing DNF campuses. By the way, one of the things I'm going to try to do is when we say words like ensure or increase, et cetera, I'm just going to try to distill it to the value. So instead of increase this, the value we're protecting is extracurricular participation. What type? Specifically K-12 in this case. So
I'm real fond of verbs.
everybody is. DNF campuses, K-12 extracurricular participation, effective teachers serving on highest need campuses, balanced budget, and early learning readiness, K through 2. Does anyone that was not part of that group have any questions or clarifications, or do those make sense? All right, hearing no questions, thank you so much. Who is the next group to share?
I'll go next.
All right,
We have operational efficiency, parentheses, transportation technology. Operating procedures, we have that separately.
sorry, operating procedures.
That's
Okay.
more along district facilities and services.
District facilities and services.
And then recruitment and retention, highly qualified staff.
Okay,
We have family and stakeholder engagement.
okay.
And customer service was the fifth one.
Customer service, okay. So here are the 5 from the second group. Open it up to trustees. Do all of those make sense for what they mean, or do anyone want to ask any clarifying question on what these are referring to in terms of the values we're trying to protect? Dr. Molinar, feel free to jump in if you have questions as well. I have a question. What specifically do we mean by operating procedures, district facilities and services? What is the value that we're trying to protect, or what do we mean by that? What's behind that conversation?
That one was around operating procedures to effectively manage, monitor, and support. I guess supporting district facilities and services. Yeah, that one's more like maintenance. Yes, construction bond. What other things do we talk about under that one? Yeah.
Okay.
Just adding, just some kind of procedure around the closure of buildings and how we facilitate that.
Is that separate from this one, or is it was part of this
was in the
discussion?
same-
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's part of that one.
Okay. Was that the major part of that one, or was that an element of all alongside these other elements?
That was an example.
Okay. Okay. Trustee Lynch?
Oh, I was just gonna ask, customer service, is that for students? Is that for parents? Can you guys elaborate on that a little bit?
For students and parents and stakeholders, just an example, something we talked about was like a two-way communication tool, such as a QR code or something where parents can immediately send in an issue and get almost like an immediate response that it's been acknowledged that their concern has been submitted and it's going where it needs to go.
All right. Any other clarifying questions? Thank you. Group 3.
All right, some of these have some alignment with some of the things that were mentioned already. We had a budget around strategic priorities, a balanced budget around strategic priorities, so operational. Financial stewardship.
Is financial stewardship a separate one?
Yep. Participation in extracurriculars, which was mentioned earlier. Recruit and retain effective staff. And then the fourth one was maximizing learning time and around transportation.
Are those two separate ones?
No, same one. I mean, really the value is maximizing learning time.
Maximize learning time, and specifically that's coming from transportation.
Yep.
Got it. Any questions or clarifying questions for what is meant by any of these? Budget focus on strategic priorities, financial stewardship, participation in extracurriculars, recruit and retain effective staff, and maximizing learning time with a focus on transportation. Any clarifying questions? No? I have one question. What particularly is meant by financial stewardship, and how is that different than what you had written in budget focus on strategic priorities?
I mean, really those were one and the same.
Oh, okay, so they shouldn't be separate.
Correct.
Oh, okay, got it. Sorry, my apologies, I misunderstood that. All right. Next question is, looking at this list of 14 items, is there any that we can combine that essentially are the same thing and that the groups would be okay with combining?
B and L.
B and L.
And H and M.
All right, let's start with B and L. They seem very similar. Does anyone have any concern with combining them? And if so, which one are we planning to keep? One specifies K-12 extracurriculars, one's general.
I think we can keep B.
Okay, so I'm deleting L. Any dissenting? All right. Sorry, what was the next one that was raised?
It was H and M.
H and M. Recruitment and retention of highly qualified staff. Recruit and retention of effective staff. Okay, yep. Any preferences on which one of those to keep, or are those separate?
C is also.
C, effective. Okay. So we have 3 about staff. One that's effective teachers serving on highest need campuses. H is recruitment and retention of highly qualified staff. And then M is recruit and retain effective staff. So any proposals on which ones to eliminate, how to combine, et cetera? Trustee Lubanos, followed by Trustee Lynch, followed by Trustee Dar.
I believe we can keep C.
Okay. Preference to keep C. Are you proposing to eliminate both of H and M then? Go ahead, Trustee Lynch.
I would like to combine H and M, but leave that and C right now.
Okay. All right. Trustee Dar?
I favor C.
Okay, favor C. So it sounds like C is definitely different, so we'll leave C separate. Trustee Ryan, did you come off mute? Did you have something to add to this? Okay. Okay.
I'm sorry, C and K, not C and J.
C and K, budget focus on strategic priorities and effective teacher serving on highest needs campuses.
Yes.
Let's hold that. We'll come back to that in a second. Let's rectify this one. So it sounds like everyone is okay with combining, though, H and M. Recruit and retention of highly qualified staff and recruit and retain effective staff. Does anyone have a preference on which of those words we should keep?
I would prefer effective. You can be very qualified, but maybe not effective. I'd prefer effective.
Okay. Anyone else have a differing opinion?
I would like to see highly qualified and effective.
Okay, highly qualified and effective. Any other thoughts? All right. For now, we can put them together. Highly qualified and effective. We will then tease out if we need both of those words or if some are more than others. That's something the board can do. Any other ones that we can combine?
I'd like to pose to my group, our intention under F, operational efficiency, was really to maximize student instruction, but we have technology and transportation in there. Would we agree, like, our value is actually maximizing learning time and keeping the transportation, but maybe adding technology as well?
Could you say maximize learning time through operational efficiency with those things listed?
Okay.
Yes.
So maximizing learning time through
Operational efficiency,
efficiency. And
And then
specifically,
add-
we're
yeah.
referring to transportation and technology mainly with that.
yes.
Okay, I hear a lot of nods on that. So without any other dissent, I'm going to delete F then. Any other to combine?
What about D and K, if we could add balanced budget focused on strategic priorities?
I'm going to step in here
D and K.
before you all make that decision. One thing that I see happen frequently is we start to see how can we just kind of put all the words together in the same ones, which results in kind of like doing all EOCs versus English 1, is there's value and focus. Like if balanced budget is the value, then we should focus on balanced budget. If it's aligning to priorities, we should focus on that. If we want to do both of those together, it's going to get a little bit murkier. Might still be a choice. That's up to you. I would recommend when you have differences like that you feel are the case, to leave them separately and then see where they fall out and then discuss if we need to expand them. But that's, again, my coaching, up to you as a board to decide. All right.
I
So-
I would like to just keep K and eliminate D.
Okay. Proposal to keep K, budget
Although
focus
one
on
of them-
strategic priorities versus a balanced budget. To eliminate balanced budget, we'd have to hear from the group that said balanced budget, and they have to be willing to do that. Is that group willing to do that, or would you prefer to leave balanced budget on there for now?
We can
Well,
remove
and in
D.
looking at that again, it really is two totally different things because if I think we also have to look through the lens of what our community would value.
Yep.
And our community has made it very clear that they want a balanced budget, that they know that we're spending responsibly.
Yep.
So I'm not really sure if my comment still stands.
All right.
Now that I've thought about it more.
Thank you. Dr. Rodriguez, did you have something to add? Sorry.
A balanced budget is important, but not if it's between adding resources for our students or compensation. So a balanced budget would be great, but if we're focusing on our strategic priorities, if we get close to a balanced
Yep.
budget, I think it would be okay, because we're here to educate students, and if they need extra, then we should be able to give it to them.
Great. Okay, so what I'm hearing is, yes, it's important. Might not be the most important, but that will shake out momentarily when we have people vote. Trustee Phillips, you have something to add?
Yes, because I heard what you said, Ben, but I really do like Dr. Molino's recommendation of balanced budget that is focused on the strategic priorities, because I think both of those are absolutely important. And even to Dr. Rodriguez's comment, I think we should be presented with a balanced budget, and it should be tied to what our strategic priorities are. And if we have to go over, we have to do more, then that's a board decision that we would need to make. And, so Dr. Mullenor can say, hey, here's your balanced budget, but this is what is lacking, this is what we're still needing, and we decide, okay, go into deficit for that, whatever the case, that's fine. But, yeah, we want to see a balanced budget, and we want it to be about the stuff it's supposed to be about, not just about stuff. So I think both of those are important. I think that does encompass it when you combine it in that way, in my opinion.
All right, it is the board's choice. So what I hear is a proposal to actually do combine those. We've thought about it. They are different, but we want them both. I don't know if the board has any semblance of thoughts around that, or we can see how it plays out. All right, I don't hear anything else from folks, so let me just briefly kind of group some of these. We have 3 around the budget here, all kind of different elements. Balanced budget with focus on strategic priorities, a balanced budget, or just a budget focus on strategic priorities. We have maximizing learning time through operational efficiency. That one is duplicate. Customer service, focus on students, parents, and stakeholders. Family and stakeholder engagement, recruitment and retention of highly qualified and effective staff. I will also put the other one around here with staff, which is effective teachers serving on highest need campuses. We have operating procedures around maintenance bond, closure procedures, early learning readiness, balanced budget, K-12 extracurricular participation, and a decrease in D and F campuses. Any other clarifying questions or suggestions to combine here?
Yes, you have C and L twice.
C and L twice. Thank you so much. Sure do. All right. So same as next time. We are on it this time, Dr. Ryan. We are going to type these into the chat for you immediately. On a Post-it note, again, you have 5 point values you can assign. 15, 12, 8, 5, and 3. You're just going to put the letter, once I get these letters corrected here momentarily. You're going to put the letter next to the corresponding one. So if your highest priority here is decreasing DNF campuses, you're going to put A next to 15. Go ahead and fill out your Post-it note, and when you're done, you're going to pass it to Dr. Molinar. And Dr. Ryan, if you type it in the chat, we will make a Post-it note for you.
Mr. Mackey, I do have a question. There are 2 Gs.
Okay, we will, I think we've got to correct it up here. We might have typed it with 2 Gs in the chat. We'll clarify that for you. Just give us 1 second. Dr. Ryan, if you scroll down in the chat, you should be able to see a new one that has it all copy and pasted directly in there. Let us know if you can't see that.
Okay.
that one, everyone in? You got all 9? All right, Dr. Molinar, if you will read off in order, and I will put it in here, and then we will bring the scores in.
15A,
Okay?
12B,
Yep,
8C,
yep,
5D,
yep.
3K.
Got it. Okay, next up.
15F, 12B,
Hold on, 15,
8J.
hold on, I'm not that fast. 15F,
15F, 12B,
yep.
8J, 5D,
J,
3C.
5D, 3C. Okay, next.
15L,
L.
12F, 8I, 5H, 3A.
Okay,
15J,
okay.
12F, 8J, 5C,
Sorry, 12F, 8J,
yes,
yep.
5C, 3B.
What was the 15 on that one?
A J. J was on here 2 times.
Okay, so we'll only, 15J, very important. 15J,
12F,
12F,
8J,
yep.
5C,
5C,
3B.
3B. Okay, next.
15A,
Yep,
12G, 8H, 5K, 3D.
okay,
15A,
yep,
12F,
yep,
8I,
yep,
5B,
yep,
3J.
okay,
15E,
yep,
12B,
yep,
8A,
yep,
5J,
yep,
3G.
yep,
15F,
yep,
12D,
yep,
8C, 5I, 3L.
okay,
15F, 12E, 8B, 5J, 3C.
all right. So now let me hide all those individual scores. And then we will sort. All right, let's see what we got. Let's start from the top. It looks like there is pretty clear consensus on the top 3 at least. Sounds like number 1 is recruitment and retention of highly qualified and effective staff was far and away the top 1. The second one was decreasing DNF campuses. The third is K-12 extracurricular participation. So it sounds like those 3 are the top to focus in on for the values. Let me pause there and see if that sounds right to this board, if anyone is surprised by that, if there's anything we need to clarify with those, or do we feel good starting with those 3 before we talk about if we want to add 2 more? See thumbs up? All right. So then the next one, again, you can have up to 5. Prioritization is one of the hardest things to do. The more priorities you have, the less focus you have on any of them. So if you're going to prioritize these guardrails around recruitment and retention of highly effective and qualified staff, decreasing DNF campuses and K-12 extracurricular participation, are you okay with decreasing your focus on those 3 to add a 4th one around balanced budget focused on strategic priorities? That's an open question, so we'll start with that question. Is it worth it for this board to add that 4th value, even if it means a little bit of decreased focus on the 3 above? Trustee Phillips?
Yes.
Thank you. Trustee Dar?
Yes.
Yes, okay. I see nods from Dr. Rodriguez. I see nods across the board. So it seems like, is there any dissent on adding that one as a 4th one? Does anyone feel differently? All right. So now we've got 4. Recruitment and retention of highly qualified and effective staff, decreasing DNF campuses, K-12 extracurricular participation, and a balanced budget focused on strategic priorities. The question now is, are we good with those 4 as focus values, or do we really see a need to add an additional one here? You've got a couple that are very close. You've got early learning readiness, effective teachers serving on the highest need campuses, and then the broader operating procedures regarding maintenance, bond, closure procedures, et cetera. I will open it up to the conversation and especially invite you, Dr. Molinar, as you think about the highest needs of the district and kind of some of the areas where you're focused on, if you have insights onto if you would recommend adding any, and if so, feel free to jump in at any point. But that's going to be an open question to the board as we look at this and as we look at those next 3. Do any of those rise to the surface of needing to add a 5th guardrail here? Go ahead, Trustee Bridges.
Early readiness is one that resonates with me because if we are able to get our students prepared at an earlier stage, that once they are at the 3rd grade level, then I think half the battle is done. So I think that's a missing element.
Okay, so I hear, yes, we should add a 5th one, and from Trustee Bridges' perspectives, it should be the early learning readiness one. Other thoughts, other perspectives? Trustee Phillips.
Yes. Not attempting to make it too broad, but the operating procedures and the maximizing learning time, is there a way for those to go hand in hand? Because I'm looking at maintenance and bond, closure procedure, transportation, technology. We're talking about the functionalities of those things, that if we have these things working well, then it is boding well for students to be able to have everything they need on time, working well, for them to be able to maximize their learning time, to be able to maximize their academic achievement. It seems like there is some fit for those 2 to go well together. And if those 2 can go well together in some way, then I would like to see that one be the final one that we add to the list. And not that any of the rest of them are not important, of course, and then even your comment, Trustee Bridges, absolutely. But I think that the early learning readiness is going to be implied in the goals that we already have, because we're focused on 3rd grade reading, 3rd grade math. You got to focus, well, that means you automatically going to be doing good in K through 2 if you're going to have the results you're looking for at 3. So we kind of already got that one embedded per se. But these operating procedures, I think I think if those 2 can come together somehow, I think that would be a good final one.
Thank you, Trustee Phillips. Other thoughts, perspectives?
Can staff come back and to see if we can combine those 2 that Trustee Phillips mentioned?
It's definitely possible. The one thing I'll just flag, you can combine these, but I'll note that you've already listed 5 different broad areas: maintenance, bond, closure procedure, transportation, technology. What inevitably is going to happen, we could have the pretty language about what we're going to make sure is the case, but ultimately, Dr. Molinar and her team are going to have to simplify this to 2 or 3 measures that tell us that's happening. So she and her team are going to have to look at all of those areas and probably propose, well, we think it's transportation and maintenance are the 2 big ones, and we'll bring it back. And the question is the board going to be okay with her making that recommendation? Because what it won't be is 7 different ones about maintenance, and one about bond, and one about closures, and one about transportation, and one about technology. So either the board can kind of combine these, and I would recommend highlighting those areas in operating procedures and maximizing learning time through operational efficiency that are the most critical right now. Maybe transportation is the thing that's most critical right now. Or you can defer to superintendent and she can bring back a recommendation for sure. That's definitely an option. Trustee Dar?
Worth noting is that those top 4 that we've already highlighted in green fit really nicely with our already adopted strategic plan. I think there are others that also would fit in there. I just want to make sure that we're not doing something that's going to be counterproductive with what we've already adopted in this strategic plan based on hours and hours of work and community engagement.
Yep. So what I hear you recommending is maybe we stick with those 4 for now.
I like those. I love the idea of early learning readiness also, but I'm wondering if that's addressed through our goal progress measures, which I cannot say tonight. Or I don't know that not having it here means that we're not focusing on it.
Yep, oh, for sure. That's of course the case.
You're right. I mean, it's the foundation of everything, and it's certainly critically important because you're not just going to learn to read starting in 3rd grade.
Dr. Molinar, do you have something to add there?
Yeah, I just want to confirm that definitely will be our focus, presenting GPMs. Those will be GPMs we would bring forward. And that's something I've pledged to our stakeholders in our community about transparency around that K2. And our budget has definitely aligned with a new phonics curriculum and our new instructional framework and how we're monitoring that. And those are things we want to share, and we want parent engagement and transparency around that. So those would be shared, just like when we were talking about if we add in algebra, we would have to show you how we're doing in middle school math in grades 6, 7, and 8 as well with that alignment. So those are things we're committed to through K through 2. We know that foundational work is extremely important to the success of 3rd grade reading.
Thank you. Trustee Dar, is that responsive to your comments?
Yes, thank you.
Great. Okay, what I've heard so far is we're definitely settled on these 4 at the top, F, A, B, and J. And then there's an open question. It sounds like where we have landed on early learning is that it's important, but it's baked into our goals already. And we seems like superintendent agrees that we'll see that progress there. So we might not need it as a separate guardrail, as it might be duplicative. And then there's a question around, is it possible to see, kind of looking at operating procedures or operational efficiency, like maybe deferring that to the superintendent and team to identify if there are any critical areas we might bring back for the board to look at. Are we okay now looking at these 4 and the potential 5th one, handing that to Dr. Molinar and the team to kind of put some thought into and bring back, again, a draft of language around this and progress measures? Trustee Bridges?
As we send it off to the superintendent and staff, I just want to add this. Probably the biggest comments that I get from by way of email, text, or people who I see in the community is the concern around transportation. So I would hope that, and granted, we moved in a new, different direction, but there still are some concerns. So I would want to make sure that from the community voice, I'm speaking from what I hear, that is something that is definitely still out there.
Yep, and that's exactly why this conversation is super helpful, is to know and where is the biggest fire right now, or the thing that we're paying attention to. If it's transportation, it behooves the board to be as clear as possible about it, because it's a lot easier to then focus on it and prioritize it as part of this. So thank you for that. President Martinez?
I'll piggyback on that I also hear from the community that transportation is number 1, but I hear more from staff or on the campuses that technology is a huge one.
All right. So we're getting a little bit of direction for them to explore into here. Any other thoughts? All right, y'all. Well, it is nearly, it's exactly 3 hours. That was a lot of work to do in 3 hours. Let me do a quick overview of next steps and what will happen here, so you can know what to expect. I'm going to summarize this. I'll send it back to you, Dr. Molinar, and the team in a summary format. This will be available. I would recommend, I have seen no concerns with the board posting this online, as this is our first conversation. If you want to, you can post it as part of this agenda or however you see fit there. What will happen next is superintendent and team will take this direction and start working over the coming weeks to put some actual language to this. So for the goals, it's looking at the baselines where we are currently, what's meaningful, challenging, but attainable for us to accomplish over the coming years, and put some measures. And then they will also look at, okay, if we're focused on English 1, and that's the winning the ball game, what are the progress measures that we need to be updating the board on every few months to know if we're on track for that or not? And so the team will put that together. Same thing with these guardrails. The way guardrails works, again, it's been very confusing most times I've ever worked with boards or even been on a board going through this process when we jump into the thou shalt not language about achieve these goals, but thou shalt not do this. So the way that I will coach Dr. Molinar and the team to think about these values, okay, if the value is recruitment and retention of highly qualified and effective staff, what are those things that we can't allow to happen that are working against this? And they'll think about those things and then phrase the guardrail language around those things, that we won't allow teachers to go without quality professional learning community. If they deem professional learning communities are the reason, I'm not saying they are, I'm just saying an example, then that's what we'll ask them to be specific about on that. And so that's what the board will see. Hopefully it'll make that process a little bit easier. But the next step here is sometime, depending on what the timeline looks like, usually in the next month. So my guess would be probably by October. The board is now going to get to maybe at the October workshop, look at the new draft language, look at the progress measures, and have another conversation about, is that what we meant? Do we want to make any adjustments? Because ultimately the board owns these. So with that, is there any questions or follow-up for me? Thank you all. This is a lot of work to do in 3 hours. It's pretty amazing to see you all get through that so deeply. Thank you all for your diligence and doing the hard work on the front end. With that, President Martinez, I'll turn it back to you.
Thank you, Ben. Thank you, trustees, for engaging in this exercise and around our goals and constraints. Just want to give one last opportunity if you have any questions or comments regarding tonight or the process. All right, seeing none, the time is 8:41 p.m. and this meeting is adjourned.